Good morning. Welcome to day 3 of the NRF Big Show. Thank you for coming out today and talk a little bit about nailing demand forecasts. Right? I'm happy to be here. By the way, aren't we all happy to be here in person? Right? For a show. And I'm particularly happy to be joined by my esteemed customers, right? That are here to talk a little bit about nailing demand forecasts. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to jump right in. We only have 30 minutes. We're going to jump right in. I'm going to ask my co-panelists to introduce themselves, talk a little bit. I'll give you some terms and definitions that we're going to use today, and then we'll jump right in. All right. So great. Let's go ahead and get go. Ross, I'm going to ask you to start us off here. Tell us a little about yourself and
Cool.
fun at HEB.
Awesome. So thanks, Scott, and thanks for the opportunity to present here. So my name is Ross Giambalvo. My team looks after inventory management at HEB. For those that aren't familiar with HEB or haven't been to Texas, we started in Kerrville, Texas back in 1905. Here we are 117 years later with 150,000 employees and 350 stores in Texas and 75 in northern Mexico. Our focus is to make the lives of Texans better, and I know that sounds a little bit crazy thinking about a grocery store with that focus, but we care about our customers. We want to show them that care in a number of ways with tailored assortments based focused on the store they shop in. We focus very intently on offering lower prices than our competition in a trade area that's very competitive, including Walmart and Kroger. My team, I'm blessed to work with a great team that focuses on inventory management. We take care of forecasting and planning and driving in stocks across our stores, warehouses, manufacturing, e-commerce. I've got a number of partners that are digital product managers and work on the systems that support those teams, and a number of initiative managers that help build new capabilities for HEB. Prior to HEB, I've been there for about 10 years now. Prior to HEB, I worked in management consulting and enterprise software, helping retailers and brands build new capabilities in merchandising, forecasting, planning, assortment, and supply chain.
Great. Thank you, Ross. All right, we'll move on down to Jeremy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy Elster, and thank you again for bringing me here and giving me the opportunity to talk about Chipotle Mexican Grill. I'm a data science manager on the enterprise analytics team at Chipotle. I lead a small team that works on demand forecasting use cases as well as other advanced analytics use cases across the industry or across the business. A few words about Chipotle. Chipotle was founded in 1993 in Denver, Colorado. Our success in part was because we elevated the fast casual dining experience as well as a commitment to food with integrity. I think one of the exciting things about working on a centralized enterprise analytics team is we get to run through demand forecasting opportunities across the country or across the business with a bunch of different organizations. For example, with labor scheduling, with demand forecasting for sales and transactions, as well as some of our supply chain partners internally. And so I'm looking forward to talking about how we use Planalytics in that today.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Last but certainly not least, Tyler.
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tyler Scott. I'm the Senior Director of Demand Planning and Retail Support for Albertsons. I started my grocery career about 30 years ago at a Safeway store in the state of Washington. Happened to join Safeway because I got in a car accident when I was about 17 years old. Couldn't pay my car insurance anymore, and 30 years later, here I am. I grew up in Safeway, held multiple jobs within the retail space, moved into backstage in their supply chain organization, was a buyer in our Seattle center. When Albertsons acquired Safeway back in 2014, 2015, I joined a team that was responsible for integrating Albertsons and Safeway across data systems and platforms. I now lead up our demand forecasting team that's responsible for forecasting across 2,300 stores for center of store categories, as well as the retail support team that really helps manage our inventory processes at a store level.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you for the introductions. We're going to plow right in. As I said, I'm going to go through some quick terms and definitions, and then we'll go ahead and start asking you some questions. Right? See if I can. Oh, there we go. Right, so just quickly, we're going to be bantering back and forth, and we've noticed people speak a certain language when they're talking about Planalytics. I want to make sure the audience, if somebody throws out a term that they're comfortable with it, they understand what the subject is. So very, very quickly, if we throw out the term for weather sensitivity, right? What we are talking about is what we jokingly call the weather wiggle. Right? How much does the weather matter in that location for that product at that period of time, et cetera, et cetera. So there's kind of that weather wiggle that we'll be talking about, the measurement and management of things. That's a big part of it. Even more important, though, is the weather volatility. That's the amount of money, right, that's on the table when it comes to how demand forecast and how it's going to be affected. How much money is on the table is when we're talking about weather volatility. And quickly, last but certainly not least, weather-driven demand. So if myself or one of the panelists throws out WDD, this is what we're talking about, right? The weather-driven, it's the weather and only the weather, affecting that demand forecast and what it means across the business. So when we say, well, we use the WDDs here, here, and here, that's what we're talking about, that weather-driven demand. It's basically the culmination, the metric, if you will, right, that is ingested into the environments, the system environments that help us achieve what we're about to talk about. So just wanted to be very quick because, just in our preparation for today, we want to make sure we don't throw out some terms that people don't understand. So very quickly going through that, and then we're going to plunge right in, right? If you guys okay with that. So as you know, some of us have been to the NRF more than a few times, right? And there's always these waves of different trends and things that people are talking about. And the latest wave that I've been picking up, at least, is around machine learning. And in talking to a lot of retailers, there's various, let me say, levels of adoption, right? Some people, they're getting a little bit closer, some not so much. So Jeremy, I'm going to put you on the spot here first, right, to talk about that. In your role as data science manager, can you talk about how Chipotle approaches machine learning, right? From an analytics perspective, and talk about our partnership together and how it works for you and your team?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So at Chipotle, our vision is to cultivate a better world, and so when it comes to weather-driven demand forecasts and other forecasts across our industry, we also have another value, which is that we are a restaurant company, and for us, the line where you order your food is the moment of truth, which means that you want to be able to get Chipotle where you want it, when you want it, have everything in stock, have everything available when you want to customize your bowl. And so we use a couple different demand forecasts, and maybe I'll start talking about how it was like when I joined Chipotle in 2019, and one of the first projects I was given was to do an annual planning process, and so this was, I had just joined Chipotle. The folks who were doing demand planning had all been there for about 10 years, and so I was coming in as the new data scientist saying, I think that we can improve this. Let's go down to restaurant level forecasts, which is something that they were looking for, kind of someone with more analytics background in order to do. And then, so we started building, and we said, okay, this was pre-COVID, so all you had to do was throw a couple years of historical sales into a Python script and run a couple models against it, and you had a pretty good demand forecast. And so a few different pieces came out of that. I was also getting familiar with the sales and transactions at Chipotle, and I would come back to the team and say, okay, here are days where we are far exceeding our forecasts, and they would say, oh, this is when we do. I learned that there's a thing called National Burrito Day. It happens in April. We run a promotion on it. We also run a promotion on Halloween called Burrito. At least in college, I knew that was a thing. You put on a tinfoil hat for good, and you get a free burrito. And then we would also notice, okay, but here are days where, here are days, markets, regions that are underperforming. And, these are folks who have been doing this daily demand planning as well as their year planning. And they'd say, oh, there was a weather storm here. Oh, this 2019 or, 2018 or all the way back to 2015 as I'm kind of going through this historical data. And so really, I think one of the, and talking about partnerships and benefits of, back then I was having to manually go through and add flags, filters, et cetera, into our historical data in order to assess weather and volatility and all this weather-driven demand. Whereas now it's really exciting. We have this partnership with Planalytics. We're given these values at the day level and also at the channel level, and it makes my life as a data scientist and as a demand planner very easy. Not only in that I'm able to kind of understand the historical patterns so that when we are looking at, demand planning for this year. We're also able to understand the demand planning and the change over last year when we look at comp. And so it really provides this really an additional tool, an additional feature set with this weather-driven demand that really enables the business to unlock much better accuracy, much better understanding with what our sales and transactions are. And not only that, it makes it easy, not only as the analyst, but also being able to roll that up to the executive level. I only half joke that when our sales beat comp, marketing takes credit, and when our sales underperform, I get an email saying what happened with weather and what does Planalytics say the impact was yesterday. And so then we kind of go through and we say, okay, well, now that we've kind of socialized these metrics with our executive team, we say, this is, we're comping over something that was, really strong weather impact of last year or an impact from this year. So that's one example for our demand forecasting planning. And then just another quick one before handing it off is during COVID, like many of your other businesses, everything shifted to digital. So our marketing department wanted to understand the different drivers behind the digital occasion and the impact on weather. So we were using the Planalytics data and also using the raw weather data feed to understand what are kind of weather-based triggers that we could use in order to promote a new Chipotle occasion based on different triggers. Maybe it's raining, do you want delivery? Things like that, where we're trying to kind of push the capability of leveraging our customer data as well as our weather data in order to drive more occasions to Chipotle.
No, thank you for that. We were the four of us were talking earlier about this. You'll, if any vendor or even someone in your IT department comes up and tells you that they have raw weather data poured into a machine learning and it's going to just solve the world's problems, hide your wallet, right? Run, don't walk, run away, right? It does not work. Yeah, I mean, probably eventually you can boil the ocean and maybe come out with a shrimp cocktail, right? Or you can just get one off the menu, right? Just get the WDD, plug it in, and go. It tends to be a little bit better to put gasoline in the gas tank rather than oil, right? Something processed tends to have a lot better, right, motion in the car. Yeah. So that's cool. All right, how do we know all this? All right, Ross, you're up next. I thank you for that chair, but you're up next, Ross, right? Look, now more than ever, any investment that a retailer is going to make, right, has to have the benefits associated, the measurements, all of those pieces and parts, right? There's also that common phrase in business, right? You can't manage what you haven't measured, right? So, Ross, you are on the spot, my friend, right? Can you share the process of both that define and measure the benefits at HEB and how that plays out in relation to our work together?
Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. And just kind of building off Jeremy's a little bit, I think you all had a strong notion of whether driving your business. I think, intuition would say we all know that, right? But the question is which items and how big is the impact? And I think the slide here is perfect, Scott, just around, we all know sensitivity and weather volatility, but at some point you need to take action on it. And so we went through, we were questioning the ROI and the business case ourselves. And whenever we're looking at investment, we're looking at it through two lenses of, is it going to move the needle for the company, but also is it right for the partners that are doing the work? And so some initial proof of concept and piloting helped start to answer some of those questions. Definitely on weather sensitivity and weather volatility. We learned a lot about our customers through that and realizing really how much weather was a headwind or a tailwind on items, especially in our fresher categories where we were building a business case around better in stocks, but also shrink as being material. So that process helped through the POC and the pilot helped us get a good sense of the business side of the equation. But the biggest question that we had was even if we integrate this data into our systems, one of our goals is to make the work simpler for employees in the stores whose job it is to review and override orders, right? And so even if we included it, would they take advantage of, is the impact material enough, and were they going to really start to change their behavior and really trust it? And so through some piloting in selected categories, we learned that partners did trust it, and we could see less overrides in the data, which was a signal to us that we were on the right path. And so that combination of in-store labor as well as in-stocks and shrink helped build the business case for us.
Yeah, when those overrides start not happening.
Yeah,
right? It's a funny measure of success.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is we know partners are doing the work today, right? Yep. And so and in retail, a job in a store is more complex than it was yesterday. It's going to continue to get more complex. And so being able to take some of that off of their plates and have them trust the system is a big win for us.
That is the trick, right? How do we help the business, help the people within the business?
Yeah.
Right, that's a big part of it. All right, thank you for that, Ross. That was great. All right, we talked about demand analytics a little bit, right? How they can support those corporate initiatives and machine learning and other systems. Those are great success stories, guys. Thanks. Right, but a lot of retailers in the room, I think, are thinking about, okay, how does this begin? How do we start all this? So Tyler, you're on the spot for this one, right? Can you talk about the process of getting started, please? Right, what Albertson's did and is doing, and what are the key success factors that you called out?
Yeah, definitely, Scott. So we're on the front end of our engagement with you, right? And when we got started, your team did a really nice job of coming to me and talking about what this brings to the table. At first, I was maybe a little skeptical in it, but I knew, like what Jeremy was saying and Ross was saying, that weather drives demand, right? We know that. And so your team did a really nice job of starting to lay out some benefits. And that really helped me get started and getting a good understanding of how the application would work, how the data would augment our forecast. Once we were actually able to supply you some of our data and actually start to see the transformation in the demand signal itself, that really gave me a new level of comfort. It's easy to pick out the items that you know are going to have weather impact associated to them. We're doing our data analysis on stores up in the northern region, northeast region of the country. And so as weather changes from summer to fall up in the Northeast, you expect items like fire logs, chili, soups to pick up that demand. It's just known, right? But it was the items that I wasn't anticipating. To see the level of impact there that really gave me a new sense of comfort with what we were working towards in implementing with you guys. It just opened my eyes to it, because if I wasn't a department manager or a category manager of that category, I might not think that peanut butter would have incremental sales based on the change in the weather. So it's really neat to see how the data can be overlaid on top of our demand forecast to drive a better in-stock conditions in our stores to ultimately drive sales and increase our availability.
Yeah, peanut butter, right?
Peanut butter.
That's a great one. That's a great one. All right, thank you. That was a good one. All right, moving on. New question. I think, Ross, I'm going to put you on the spot first, but you guys feel free to chime in. All right. Can you talk about the importance of our partnership together? Right, we're talking about the bits and bytes and the digits and the dials, but at the end of the day, it's about the people as well. So if you could lead us off and just talk about our partnership together, that would be great. If you don't mind.
Yeah, I think so. I talked about our decision to go with Planalytics and kind of getting this off the ground, but what we didn't realize was how much of a commitment you guys have to customer success. And I hate to stereotype experiences with other vendors sometimes, but they have customer success teams, and you may not hear from them for 11 months, and then they call you up and ask you if you're happy because they're going to send you an invoice to renew your services, and they're just they want to make sure you're just happy enough to renew, and there isn't really a true feeling of shared success. And I think the thing that we didn't realize that we thought we were just getting the WDDs, and that was enough of a business case. But I'm going to put Adam Moyer on the spot. If you want to raise your hand, Adam, he's there in the back. Adam's been, and his team have been with us, I think the continuity through the sales process into customer success. They truly are part of our team. They know our strategy from day one. They know how our customers are different than maybe some of your other customers, and really how we're trying to move the business. And so that's been great. And the team reaches out proactively, setting up review meetings with us, and as opportunities come up, there's a commitment not only to help solve those through the services angle, but also keep enhancing your own product, where we find some ways that Texans react to the weather that may not be apparent in other geographies. The team's been great in helping enhance the product and really setting us up for success. And so it's been great, and it was a real upside that we didn't really recognize and wasn't part of the consideration, but we've been really happy ever since.
Well, that's great to hear. Thank you, Ross, for that. Appreciate it. All right, calling out some of the team members. I love to hear that, right, as their president.
Yeah.
Jeremy, Tyler, anything to add to that? Or?
No, nothing to add there.
Yeah, good one, well done. All right, Tyler, I'm going to put you on the spot then for this one first. And again, you guys chime in if you'd like to, right? You all have impactful roles in your organization, right? You all have to do that, right? And you need to drive that better experience for your colleagues and ultimately your customers, right? That's really what we're all here for, right? To make your customers as happy as they can be walking in. So Tyler, can you start out a little bit how you got that executive support, that buy-in, how you get the organization on your side, right, to understand the value?
Yeah, great question, Scott. Obviously, the work that we did up front in reviewing and looking at the data really started to pave the way for that benefit case, right? Again, Mr. Adam Moyer in the back there, he spent a lot of time with me and my team really starting to understand where the benefits would come from, right? We're always looking for that. The executives are always looking for lower cost of goods, driving market share, additional incremental sales and profit, right? So when we have that opportunity, and what I could see in the data, we really saw that there was this opportunity. So Adam and team really spent a lot of time with me defining what those benefits would look like. That really gave me the opportunity from there to go and talk to our FP&A team and make sure that they had that same level of understanding, because I need our FP&A team to understand where these benefits are going to come from so that they can help me position the benefit case with our executive leadership team. Through all of that work and all of that diligence, we were able to go and secure funding to get us started with the program, so I'm super excited about that. And from there, right, we're going to move into our pilot, our proof of concepts, right? And so from there, we'll be able to measure these benefits and really ascertain that the benefits match what we talked about up front. That will allow for us to continuously grow with the platform itself.
Oh, that's great, right? So long-term customer, right? New customer, and right in between, Jeremy, right?
Yeah.
Right midterm. So that's great to hear all those different perspectives. So Jeremy, you touched on this earlier, but I'm gonna call you out on a little bit, right? You talked a little bit about pre-pandemic, this pandemic, and now post. And you hear a lot of talk about normalizing, but maybe it's just me, but it doesn't really feel like 2019, does it? This is a whole kind of different thing. Can you talk about some of the key learnings through this process and where you want to go in 2023 and beyond?
Yeah, and so prior pre-pandemic, Chipotle was about 80% in-store for our business. And then overnight, those numbers flipped, and now we're trying to figure out when do we go pre-pandemic, or are we ever going to return to business as normal? What is that going to look like? What is the new normal? So one of the really nice things that we have with the partnership with Play Analytics is we actually have the weather-driven demand by channel. So we have separate models for our in-store business. We have separate models for our digital business. And we do know that those occasions, right? So with all of our other customer modeling, we do know that some folks have just shifted from in-store to digital, the convenience through our app and web for pickup, mobile pickup, curbside, delivery. Those occasions aren't going away, and it's just about how do we make sure that those folks, how do we understand the weather-driven demand of those folks, also just in the specific digital channel. So I think I had mentioned one of our projects, which was to understand exactly what types of weather triggers might make folks go and order Chipotle on the app. It's not just a business walk-up lunch on a Tuesday next to the office. We really are trying to understand how do we capture as many occasions, as many opportunities as possible, and try to make the experience as sticky as possible as well for Chipotle.
Yeah, we're trying to do all the stuff. I'm trying to do it at scale, right? It's just not easy, right? Just not easy to do it, and to do it right in detail across the business. That's a rough one. So just when we get all this stuff figured out, right, then along comes extreme weather, right? Hurricanes, snowstorms, all the nasty bits associated with it, the not nice days. Let me put it that way. So can we talk a little bit about that, about the what you're trying to do? Ross, I think I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to ask all three of you to chime in a little bit on that. Sorry, yeah. Ross, you're next to me. You're going first on that one.
That's
but that
great.
Kind of, how do you get ahead of the weather, right? Let's just talk about that.
Yeah, so I think, so the WDDs, we know that gives us a view of our historical customer demand. So that's great. It kind of takes care of itself in a daily feed, and our systems are weather aware, which is nice. But I think one of the benefits of having WDDs separate from, I'm going to call it like a black box that considers weather as a causal factor, is that it gives the team the ability to reshape and move that forward and kind of override the WDDs if we want to try to get product to store a couple days earlier than what it might flow originally. And so I think that those are, when we think about different approaches to include weather in a system, while a black box may be able to take care of it, we see a lot of benefits in being able to take the WDDs and then use them how we see fit, because again, it's you can ask folks in our business and they'll say, well, it doesn't matter what the weather forecast says. It just matters kind of what this channel at this time in the morning, what that weather forecaster says, and then that's going to drive customer reaction. And so it gives us some abilities to know maybe what the models might say, but also the chance to shift it and get ahead of it. Yeah. So it's been great, and I think that we've been kind of figuring out some best practices over the winter storm that hit us in 2021 and any number of other weather events that are coming our way in Texas.
Yeah, you've had a few, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you're right, you bring up a good point that we're talking about consumer demand here.
Yeah.
Not what the weather data, not the weather models. It's great, they have their role in life, but no, we're talking about the money, right? And we're talking about making sure that the product is in the store when the customer arrives, right? Yep. That's what we're really all about. Jeremy, your thoughts on that? I know severe weather affects you, but a little bit differently.
Yeah, I have, let's say, two stories. So one is it just on the kind of on trying to understand our comp sales, so year over year, and even in the forecasting, one thing that's really beneficial or helpful with kind of incorporating weather data into those types of models, not only when it's extreme weather, but even just the daily weather and the other pieces, is you're able to use it as a kind of an outlier detection, and also these other pieces into your model that really are going to drive value, right? And also an executive says, why did we comp, this number where we expected this number? And you say, well, last year we had these weather impacts on these, on these three regions, and this is what we're seeing. And they say, oh, right, I remember. Whether they do or not, we have data and we're able to share. And then another piece is, in terms of forward-looking forecasts, we're able to understand. I mean, exactly the same story about supply chain and understanding these weather events, and where if there's going to be an ice storm or a region, how do we get product to stores early? At least the non-perishables. How do we get that? How do we get that as early as possible? We also have products that are impacted by weather. For example, avocados. Chipotle is one of the largest importers and users of avocados in the United States. Heavily dependent on weather and other impacts. So definitely a very, very impactful part of our business.
Thank you. Tyler, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, one of the reasons that I chose to do a pilot with Planalytics up in the Northeast is because I wanted to see what nor'easter type weather would bring to the data itself, right? And, because nor'easters never are going to hit at the same time every year, we would love for that to happen, right? We wanted to watch that historical information get scrubbed, right? Because we saw the spikes leading into the nor'easter. And now it's really interesting to watch the forecast prep for a nor'easter and see that happening in real time. But those are the extreme cases, right? I think the thing that I've seen the most is just the slight changes in the weather and how that really changes demand. Growing up in the Pacific Northwest, you never knew when the sun was going to finally come out, right? But I always remember thinking, oh, it's going from mostly cloudy to mostly sunny overnight. Everyone was running to the store and buying sunscreen, right? If we can do that from a predictive perspective moving forward, we are going to help ensure our customers have inventory available to them. And it just has to be that slight change, right? To watch it, the purchasing pattern change. Everyone starts buying barbecue items as it's changing from partly cloudy to mostly sunny. So it's really interesting to watch, and I even watch it in my own shopping behavior now, and I apply that thought as I'm walking the aisles of, oh yeah, this is why I'm buying what I'm buying. It's very intuitive when you think about it and take a step back, but it's really amazing to watch it happen in the data itself.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, and I can add one more. So Chipotle's corporate office, we're split between Newport Beach, California, and Columbus, Ohio. And so one thing I find particularly funny is whenever we have weather discussions across our teams, and we say, oh, there's an inch of rain in Southern California, and the huge impact, right? Los Angeles shuts down, everybody freaks out. And in Columbus, Ohio, you have a foot of snow, and you're seeing, so even just, a funny exercise for our teams is to try to understand how many feet of snow is the equivalent of an inch of rain in California with that impact on our business. So not only is it channel dependent, but also very regionally dependent. And I know we've been sharing stories about kind of funny quirks of different regions and the impact of weather and how that changes consumer behavior as well.
Yep. It is funny, and you do become more self-aware too. You love the locales, and what's more local than the weather, right? What's more local than the weather?
Right,
so.
exactly.
Ross, Jeremy, Tyler, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys doing this and stepping up here and talking a little bit about the weather, right? So thank you guys very much, and thank you all for attending as well.